Hey, I'm Matt Wenning at winningstrength.com, and today we're gonna go over how to build pecs safely. I'm not a huge pec guy, and I'll tell you why. I've seen a lot of guys, when they first start training, right, they wanna build the pecs. They want the pecs to be strong. They build the bench press to be strong with pecs. And the problem with that is it can cause a lot of damage. But there are some ways, once your back gets strong enough and your triceps get strong enough, that you can train pecs, get some muscle mass out of them, and not tear up your technique while pressing or your shoulders. And I'll show you today. So if you really want to get beefy pecs, but you want to do it in a safe, athletic manner, one of the best ways to do it is hanging kettlebells, in my opinion. Why? It really forces you to not be able to use as much weight because it's unstable. But that instability is going to help build the rotator cuff and all the small muscles as well as the big muscles. So using machines to build pecs can cause a lot of damage long-term, not only in your bench press form, but doesn't really have a lot of transfer to other things. So as we can see, I'm going to come back and this thing's shaking pretty good. And I'm in an incline because a lot of times to have a big pec, you got to build it off the clavicle. So on an incline, you're going to hit the top of the pec harder. So for a lot of us, we have enough lower pec to look big, but the top of the pec doesn't look big, and that's what creates that big chest. So if you look at like Arnold and guys like that, Schwarzenegger and those dudes that were really big, their upper pec development was out of control. And a lot of the pressing they did were inclines in order to build that, and that holds true still today. But I think that this is the new wave to build pec and do it smart. Using a hanging kettlebell, doing it in this position, you're going to get the same amount of muscle mass, but you're also going to get a little bit more athletic and you're going to get a little bit more control. The next thing you're going to want to do building big pecs is you're going to want to have to go across midline. So what does that mean? That means in a bench press, you're usually going to stop about right here. If you're using a cable setup, the resistance is still going to come all the way across the body. Now, if you're training to learn how to keep your chest tight and keep your chest up to bench press, you can see this could be a big problem. But in a fly, what you could do is go lighter and worry about, instead of stopping here, you actually pull across the midline of the body. That's going to build the ridge in between both of the pecs. You can only really build that ridge if you come across the midline. You can see that pec has to fire really hard coming across this way. For most dumbbells and barbells, you're going to end somewhere around here. You're never going to get close to midline. That's why some people can be great benchers without great pec development, is they never cross the midline, therefore they never develop the ridge in the center. So I think that the cable really has an advantage to this because it allows you to really hit past where a dumbbell or a barbell would not be able to cover that much muscle tissue distance going this way. All right, the next one is increasing range of motion. So if we want big pecs, we have to go further down than we would a straight bar. Well, we can do that with dumbbells or we can do it with a special bar like this, but the rule still applies. So when I take this out and I come down, you can see that obviously because I've benched with a straight bar for so long, this is a lot deeper than a straight bar for me. A lot of people can touch and that's great. I really can't. So I'll go down until I can't go as far as I can go, and then I'll press it from there. That's gonna increase that range of motion by 1 inch. So what we'll do, use this bar, every 3 to 5, maybe 8 weeks, and you're gonna get a deeper stretch, therefore it's gonna put more strain on the pec. Okay, the next thing that we can do to build pecs is we can change tempos. And you guys know that I'm huge on tempos, but it still applies here. So if I wanna use a straight bar bench and I wanna build more pecs, well, the first thing I'm gonna do is come over here and I'll show you. I'm gonna have to go a wider grip, okay? That's gonna make me hit more pec. Now, you guys know that I'm not a huge fan of that because it's gonna cause a lot of shoulder damage. But occasionally, in small cycles, you wanna build some pecs, you can. So I would go first finger on the ring. I would take it out. And then what I'm gonna do is that Harvey's gonna count 5 down, 5 up.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
So as you can see, doing this tempo is gonna make my pecs work way harder.
4, 5.
So the point is, if I don't do this in tempo and I just go down and up, I'm using a lot of tendon stretch reflex. Now that's great if I'm trying to break a PR, but if I'm trying to build muscle, then I wanna slow everything down and use 0 stretch reflex, all muscle contraction. Let's do the math. If I do 5 reps with a 5 count down and 5 count up, that's a 50-second set. If I do it only with how I kind of am programmed to do it, you're talking at most it's gonna be 8 to 10 seconds. So think about that. In one set, I've done nearly 40 seconds more work. Now you do that for 5 sets. Who's gonna be bigger, right? It's the person that gets more time under tension. So you got to start separating strength and size. We all know that the top bodybuilder is not the strongest guy in the world, and the strongest guy in the world doesn't always look like the top bodybuilder. Can you have a mixture of both? The answer is yes, but your training has to show that. This is great for building the rear delts, rhomboids, lower trap. A great posture exercise. This is a central nervous system deload. So we're actually going to deload the brain and the spinal cord, and we're going to overwork the muscle tissue.